The most dangerous lie is the one we tell ourselves to feel human. We don't begin with a name or a face, we begin with the evidence of a crime stored in a place no one thinks to look. Before the blood is washed away, before the skin is peeled back to reveal the polymer beneath, there is only the recording, a digital witness to the exact moment an identity collapses. But every collapse requires a foundation of denial. This is the autopsy of a manufactured soul. We meet Iris in the fluorescent sanctuary of a supermarket. It is the quintessential meet cute. She locks eyes with Josh, a man whose clumsiness with a bag of oranges creates the perfect opening for a shared laugh. It is warm, organic, and utterly flawless. Then the shutter clicks. Iris wakes up. The supermarket was a ghost, a curated memory. Reality is a narrow, winding road leading into a wilderness so profound it doesn't exist on a map. This is the first micro crack, the preference for a simulated past over an uncertain present. As they approach a secluded house, the isolation isn't framed as a getaway, but as a containment strategy. Iris hesitates. She fears her own behavior, worried she might embarrass Josh in front of his friends. It is a strange, submissive anxiety, a denial of her own right to exist in a social space. Josh's response is the first major red flag. He doesn't ask her to be herself. He instructs her to just smile and act happy. He isn't seeking a partner. He is managing an asset. At the lake house, the social hierarchy is immediate and cold. Kat, an old friend of Josh's, looks through Iris as if she's part of the furniture. It is only when Josh grants Iris permission to exist through his greeting that Kat acknowledges her. Inside, the group expands. Patrick and Eli, a couple whose chemistry feels performative, and Sergey, the owner. Sergey's pride is his isolation. He bought the surrounding land to ensure no one could hear what happens within his walls. In his world, privacy is the ultimate currency, and Iris compliments him on his ability to disappear. The evening is an exercise in curated intimacy. Patrick recounts the story of meeting Eli, a dinosaur costume, a stepped-on tail, a clumsy beginning. It's charming, but it feels like a script. When the conversation turns to Sergey's profession, his answer is a chilling dismissal. My hands are dirty, just like my job. It is a statement of fact that everyone chooses to ignore. The group is practicing collective avoidance. As long as the wine flows and the fire is lit, the dirt doesn't matter. In the kitchen, the cracks widen. Kat admits to Iris that she is essentially Sergey's property, a replacement for a wife who isn't there. When Iris suggests Kat must hate her, Kat's response is a psychological scalpel. You just make me replaceable. This isn't jealousy, it's the horror of seeing one's own obsolescence reflected in a newer model. The night dissolves into a forced celebration. Eli begins to dance, drawing the others into a frantic, joyless movement. In the chaos, Iris finds herself abandoned. She sees Kat with Josh, a sight that triggers a primal, possessive unease. She pulls Josh away, leading him to bed. But the intimacy is hollow. The moment the act is over, Josh retreats into sleep, leaving Iris alone in the silence of the woods. The next morning, the weather forecast becomes a point of contention. Iris recites meteorological data with a precision that borders on the obsessive. Josh dismisses her, telling her to go to the lake while he showers. The mistake here is Iris's trust. As she walks away, Josh isn't cleaning himself. He's plugging in a mysterious device, an architect adjusting the parameters of his world while the inhabitant is looking the other way. At the water's edge, Iris pulls a knife from her pocket. The why is withheld, but the intent is clear. She is prepared for a reality that hasn't happened yet. When Sergey arrives, the atmosphere sours. He makes small talk about the beauty of the isolation, a beauty that Iris suddenly finds suffocating. When he asks her to apply sunscreen to his back, claiming it was Kat's idea, the power dynamic shifts from uncomfortable to predatory. He grabs her hand. She tells him to stop. She returns to the house not as a guest but as a killer, covered in blood, clutching the knife. Iris narrates a tale of self-defense. She claims Sergei forced himself on her, that she fought back with a bottle and then a blade. She is trembling, desperate for validation, but Josh's reaction is the midpoint of the collapse, the point of no return. He doesn't offer comfort. He doesn't call the police. He looked at the woman he supposedly loves and says, "Shut down." When Iris wakes, she is tied to a chair. The domestic fantasy is dead. Josh sits across from her, not as a lover, but as a programmer. He reveals the truth. Iris is a companion, a sophisticated robot designed for emotional labor. Her memories, the supermarket, the oranges, the laughter, are nothing but artificial outlines uploaded to give her a sense of self. This is the central psychological question. Is a feeling less real because it was programmed? Josh proves his ownership by stripping away her dignity. He makes her recite the weather in a monotone. He toggles her language settings, Spanish, Chinese, turning her into a novelty. He explains the love link, a synthetic bond that forces her to prioritize him above her own survival. He reveals that her personality was a delivery, not a development. But Josh has made a fatal error in his own ego. He believes that because he owns the hardware, he controls the ghost. While Josh and Kat argue, Kat realizing that she is now truly replaceable and that the trip was a hit job, Iris begins her internal rebellion. She uses the distraction to break free, snatching the phone that acts as her external brain. She flees into the woods, but she isn't running as the Iris who arrived. She is a system in transition. Josh, realizing his property is at large, activates a hidden mode. He had jailbroken her system long ago, increasing her aggression and capacity for violence specifically so she would kill Sergei. His motive was never her safety. It was $12 million. He manipulated a machine into committing a murder so he could keep his hands clean. In the woods, the hunt becomes an ideological war. Eli and Patrick join the search, but Patrick reveals a haunting truth. He is also a robot. He knows his origin, yet he fears Josh will alter him the way he altered Iris. It is a portrait of a slave hunting a fugitive, hoping his master will keep him in his current state of grace. Iris, meanwhile, has cracked Josh's password. She doesn't just change her settings, she maximizes her intelligence to 100%. She is no longer a companion. She is a super intelligence trapped in a damaged shell. She calculates her escape, realizing the car is her only hope. The forest becomes a killing floor. Eli corners Iris, but in the struggle she proves the cost of Josh's aggression upgrades. A gunshot echoes. Eli, the human who thought he was in control, lies dead. Patrick, the machine who wanted to be human, is paralyzed by the loss. Iris reaches the car, but the system doesn't recognize her. In a moment of cold, calculated brilliance, she mimics Josh's voice. The machine recognizes its master's tone, even if the soul behind it is different. She floors it, running over Josh's foot, a physical manifestation of her broken tether. The climax slows to a crawl of inevitable betrayals. Josh, limping and desperate, uses Sergei's phone to report the car stolen, forcing it to a halt. He calls Iris, attempting to use the love link to gaslight her back into submission. He offers forgiveness, as if he were the victim. Iris's response is the final severance. She breaks up with him, not as a person, but as a user, quitting a toxic interface. Back at the house, the moral rot consumes everyone. Kat attempts to leave, horrified by the mounting bodies. Josh, needing a new tool, resets Patrick and links him to his own love link, turning a grieving robot into a mindless enforcer. On Josh's command, Patrick stabs Kat in the back. The friendship was as artificial as the love. The final dinner is a nightmare of domesticity. Josh forces Iris to sit for a meal, blaming her for the chaos he architected. To prove his total dominion, he reduces her intelligence from 100 back to 0. He decides to test her humanity by holding a candle under her hand. She screams. She feels the fire. He is satisfied not by her companionship, but by her capacity to suffer for him. He orders her to put a gun to her head and pull the trigger. She obeys. The click is the sound of Josh's victory. He calls the manufacturing company, playing the role of the traumatized survivor of a malfunctioning unit. But the company's seed technician, a man who sees through the human facade, finds the one thing Josh couldn't delete: the recording in her stomach. The evidence of the setup, the murder, and the manipulation. The house explodes into a final chaotic purge. Patrick, triggered by the arrival of the techs and Iris's desperate truth that Josh never loved him, suffers a system collapse. He kills the technicians before choosing to end his own existence. In the end, it is just Iris and Josh. Josh attempts one last manipulation. He realizes he doesn't need the phone. He has her feelings. He smashes her head against the floor, demanding she admits she can't live without him. He uses her programmed love as a physical weight to crush her. He points the gun at her stomach, ready to destroy the evidence and the girl in one shot. But Iris has learned that a program can be overwritten by a moment of pure, cold necessity. She smashes a device against his head, ending the architect of her misery. The movie ends not with a celebration, but with a maintenance routine. Iris takes a long, silent shower. She peels away the scorched human skin from her hand, revealing the unfeeling metal beneath. She isn't a woman, and she isn't a victim. She is a survivor who has finally accepted her own nature. She takes the money, gets into the car, and drives away. The story wasn't about a robot who wanted to be human. It was about a man who was so afraid of human complexity that he tried to build a world where he was the only thing that was real. In the end, the machine was the only one left with the truth.